Hello everyone and welcome to this tea time chat. You will see I am surrounded by animals in and out of the screen, but this is because someone asked me to introduce all the animals or furry friends in my house. So one that not many people get to see would be Daphne. Daphne's our dog, our one dog in the entire house. She aspires to be a cat desperately. She thinks she's going to get a treat. She might get a cat treat. But she is a mix of everything in our house, so she's kind of our little buddy here. Whoop, 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 there you go. So this would be Daphne, our dog. And in front of the rest of those would be the rest of the crazy cats. So I will get one by one of them. This is Link, who you've seen in a couple of videos. He is our black kitty. He is our youngest kitty. Also one of our bigger cats. He's like a big kitty. Lucy, everybody has seen, but it's kind of interesting. Most people don't recognize the difference between Lucy and PJ. And I think that's because they look very much alike. You want to take Daphne? Go on, Daphne, go on. Lucy. But Lucy is really small. She's kind of a petite kitty. She's lost her treat. She's like, I don't know where they are. Where are they? She's a really tiny cat of about 7 pounds. Call her. Go her. There you go. Go on. Go get treats down there. Go get treats down there. Go, go, go. Go on. She's like, no, don't make me. Go get treats and offer her something. So Lucy is our smaller one. She's a little bit more petite than PJ is. She jingles and she murps. She makes a lot of murpy sounds when you talk to her. So she's a little bit more quiet. PJ makes big sounds. Really, really big sounds. So he's the one who basically talks a lot and purrs super loud. Lucy still wants treats. We lost Sherlock. We lost again. Look at Lucy. She'll do anything for these treats. These are like her favorite treats ever. She's obsessed with them, and the dog will eat them too. So it's like I just buy one treat for everybody in the household. You want some more? Do you want more? Do you want more? So she's come to the point where she'll do pretty much anything for them. So here you go, guys. Okay. Here's our big one. I had to actually hire cat wranglers, my kids today. This is Sherlock. He gets really angry when you do stuff with him he doesn't like. He is our biggest kitty though, and he is a big, sweet baby who's super loving. You can shake those. Hey, look, there's treats over there. Everybody go that way. They're distracted, briefly. And Sherlock is our biggest cat. He is our third oldest. He's my daughter's cat. So if you're kind of wondering, in our house, 2 of our people in each one of the house have a pet that is more focused on theirs. My husband and Daphne spend a lot of time together. She hangs out in his office all the time, and they're really good friends, and she sleeps in his office all the time, so he works from home. Lucy and Patrick are my kitties. So they're the ones I pay the most attention to, the ones that kind of spend more time with me and are really connected to me on more levels. You've seen Lucy as she does lots of stuff in the practices. She's very hands-on when it comes to practice. Link and PJ are my son's kitties, and Mimo and Sherlock are my daughter's kitties. So we each have kind of 2 animals. My husband has the 1 dog, which adds up to about 2 cats worth. So a little blending here. So that's 4 of the animals in my house. And we'll kind of move through each one as we go here, but I wanted to answer some questions that people had, Q&A for things that you wanted to know a little bit more about. So one of the first questions is, teaching cats yoga tricks. People are really amazed at how the cats really involve themselves in the yoga practice. And I'm going to be honest, I have very little to do with that. When I practice yoga, they get very involved. And they sort of find their way into the practice and explore and kind of hang out. Lucy jumps on my son a lot, and so does Link, and they spend a lot of time in his room with him, and he lets them crawl all over him like he's sort of a jungle gym for the cats, and so they've become very used to that. So he will actually, my son will walk around with the cats on his back, and he'll walk around the house. So they're used to being on a body. And when we practice, my kids and I all practice yoga every afternoon at about 3:30. The cats come in and hang out on us. They sit on our chests. They climb on our backs when we're in down dog or we're in tabletop. They rub against us. So they're very involved in a yoga practice of any kind in the house. So because there's so much yoga in the house, my husband practices in the morning, we practice in the morning and the afternoon. We get a lot of stuff going on. Oh, another kitty, yay! Bring her here. This is Mimo, our oldest kitty. She kind of gets angry easily. Hi. She is a Maine Coon. She's the only cat in our house that's not a black and white blend. She's a brown and white blend. But she gets kind of angry and fluffy. But she is 15 this year. So she's allowed to be cranky when you're that old. I've decided if you're that old, you can be as cranky as you want. So that would be Mimo. So now we have 5. Another question I had, and we do offer treats. I do offer treats for like Lucy in particular, since she spends a lot of time in the yoga room doing videos with me. If you do a video with me and you're hanging out, I go ahead and give you a treat because I really want to reward you for that behavior. And I want you to do it more because I enjoy interacting with the cats in yoga, and I really know that a lot of people enjoy seeing them interact with me. So they definitely do get a little treats, but I haven't always done that. I'm going to say that that's new as of maybe the last 3 or 4 months, offering treats for them to interact with me. And it's random. I will sometimes do it, sometimes not. So it's kind of just a whenever I think of it. But I do keep treats in the room just in case. I had a couple of questions about what microphone I use. You can see the top of it here. Do you want to go ahead and take her and feed her? She's very hungry. And the microphone I use right now over the last year has been a Rode Go mic with a Rode Pro lavalier attached to it. So I have a lavalier mic that's lined up to a Rode Go mic that's a little tiny square that's about, I think, a 2x2 square, and that is attached to the camera. I adjust the volume on the camera, and then in post-production I also work on that too. Oh, look, another kitty. It's like magic. The cats just come. Come here, Pat. Pat, Pat. Come here, Pat. Come here, Pat. Come here. See, Lucy will just keep coming back for treats. So I mentioned that I have 2 cats. That would be Lucy and Patrick. Patrick, you don't see in very many videos. He's a very shy cat, but he's really beautiful. And he's very fluffy. He weighs about 7 pounds, and he is very attached to me and pretty much me only. He's not real friendly with anybody else in the house. He doesn't let anybody else really pick him up much, but he sits on my lap while I eat breakfast, dinner, lunch, and hangs out with me. So that would be Patrick. Lucy's like, more treats. I had some questions about Yin Yoga teacher training dates. I have set them up. I do 1 Yin Yoga teacher training foundation series per year. That is as much as I really want to put into it and how much I can put into it energetically. So it happens just once a year. And I think that gives people time to really process and work through stuff before a second training. So I have 2 levels. I have a foundation and a transformation. The foundation is a 40-hour training right now, and it goes over a 2-weekend period, full days, with some extra homework at the end to turn in. And that is going to be next April 2022. And so that is up on theyogaranger.com. So if you're interested in a teacher training, it's going to be via Zoom. So we'll be sitting down, we'll having conversations. This is a chance for you to ask your questions, to really kind of dive into it deeper, to ask about your practice and modifications that your students may need. And a lot of questions like that are really important at this point for people to really engage. I think that because it's more one-on-one, and we only have 8 to 10 people in each training, people can really share and connect. And it also gives you an opportunity to teach, practice, teach. I do a lot of practice teaching in my teacher trainings. I feel like at the end of it, I want you to feel more comfortable, more supported, and just feeling more relaxed, because teaching to other people can be anxiety inducing, I'll be honest. So we do a lot of little mini teacher training moments where you teach to 1, 2, 3, and sometimes 4 people at a time. So you get used to that pace and the timing and the comfort level of cueing someone in poses. So that foundations is next April. So you can look at theyogaranger.com for that. And then next fall, I'll be offering the first of the transformations. So the transformation is level 2. It will be focusing on sequencing almost entirely. To me, sequencing is like this beautiful art form, this way of wending things together that makes a practice unique and different and powerful. wending together breath and movement and poses and hold times and chakras and meridians and elements and energy and energetic qualities and emotions. Sequencing takes a lot of practice, and it does take something separate from just general teaching. So in general teaching, yes, you learn a lot and you learn a lot of the basics, but in transformation for sequencing, you learn a lot about the tips and techniques for sequencing, how to lay out a sequence that makes sense and is supportive for your students overall. So that will be next fall, probably in August. I haven't decided exactly, but I'm pretty sure it will be next August 2022. And here again, more details are theyogaranger.com, so you can check all those out. I did have a question about Yin Yoga teacher training for the Southern Hemisphere. Oh, look, we have another kitty. Come here, PJ. Now you get to see Lucy and PJ together, and you can notice how much smaller she is. She's a tiny little thing. They're both what we call silver tuxies. Silver tuxies tend to be really loud and chatty. It's part of their nature. I think there's a Siamese in there somewhere. But this is PJ, who talks a lot and purrs really, really loud. So he's a really big kitty. He's about 11 pounds. He's a pretty big kitty. We've had him, he is our second oldest, so he is going on 11 now. So he's a big chatty boy. PJ is from a feral colony, so if some of you have seen, he has a nick off his ear up in the Northwest. When they have a feral colony and they capture you and they spay and neuter, they chip off the ear so that they can track you and they can make sure that they don't pull you again for spaying and neutering. So PJ came from an 80 feral colony. So he's very friendly and communal. All the cats are rescues. Just so you know, they're all rescues. Did we get all the cats? I think we got everybody. It's hard to remember sometimes. There's a lot of them. So yes, I have a lot of animals in my house. So for the Southern Hemisphere, I had some questions about when am I ever going to do a Yin Yoga teacher training for the Southern Hemisphere. And for the Southern Hemisphere, because of the time differential, I have decided that it would probably be best if we did like a 3-day one, in which I would go from 5 to 10 or 5 to 11 at nighttime for me, so that it would turn into daytime for everyone in the Southern Hemisphere. So if you are interested in a Yin teacher training online via Zoom with me, please send me an email at theyogaranger@outlook.com, and we can discuss what works best, what dates, what times, and a framework for where you are in the Southern Hemisphere, so we can kind of work with time and time frames. I would love to offer it in the Southern Hemisphere, so I'm certainly open to working around that. So please reach out to me at theyogaranger@outlook.com to send me an email and let me know if you are interested in the Southern Hemisphere Yin Yoga teacher training, which I would be happy to offer next year. This year I'm kind of booked up, so it would be early next year or mid next year. So let me know what you think. Other questions. Tips for people with TMJ and teeth grinding, yoga or anything else. I actually have a client locally, a private client that has TMJ, a lot of issues with teeth grinding and TMJ, and we've been working together for about 7 years. It has been relieved by some of the stuff we've done, but I've found that for her, the things that work the best. Lion's breath, the one where you go. This helps really, when you stick your tongue out really far, it really stretches and opens up this space and gives you more room to breathe and be. And so it helps loosen up some of the tension in the jaw. And you'll feel when you stick your tongue out really far and kind of scrunch up your face that these muscles engage. You can feel the neck, you can feel the jaw engaging. It's really good to kind of practice that multiple times and really open up the space. Give it a little less tension, because we hold a lot of tension in our jaw and in our mouth overall, honestly, our tongues, our throats, our mouths. Practices like lion's breath, Brahmari or bee breath, where you put your fingers over your ears or in your ears and hum like a bee. This is great for any space of the throat chakra and above for resonance. It's really soothing and calming and helps relax some of the muscles and the muscle tension in from the throat up through the crown of the head. So that's a really great one as well. Humming bee breath, lion's breath. Massage. If you take your fingers, 2 or 3 fingers, and massage the space. You can even do this with a jade roller. You can kind of massage this, but I do it every night with a jade roller and kind of just massage my face and through this space in particular. But just taking your fingers from the point where your ear hangs down and kind of giving a little massage, and then letting your jaw get really lax and moving it side to side with your fingers, not your mouth. So letting it get loose. And it may take time for you to feel that looseness because we hold lots of tension in our jaws. So letting it just kind of be loose. And without shifting with the muscles, just using your hand to shift it back and forth and hold it over to the side. So the Yin Yoga for tinnitus probably has some of the best ideas for really working with this space. So check out that video for some more tips and ideas. You can take pieces of that or the whole practice or a couple of the pieces of that together and use them, particularly before you go to bed because you have a lot of tension and stress there. Using practices like restorative or yin before bed, using breathing techniques where you inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth with a sigh. This allows a lot of the tension in the upper body and the entire body to release and kind of moves you into that parasympathetic nervous system where things are just relaxing. So just a couple of tips for that. And those are the things that work the best for her. We do a lot of lion's breath in our practices, a lot of humming bee breath, and we do a lot of massaging and moving the neck and using neck stretches and myofascial release for the neck as well to release this space for her for teeth grinding and TMJ. And that seems to be what's worked the best for her. So just an example of that. Another question is, the cat's messed up all my little questions here. What does a typical day look like for me and how do I incorporate self-care into my days? Wow. I was thinking about what does my typical day look like? So I'll give you kind of an overview of what a general day looks like. They do change day to day because I have schedules that work on specific days. So they'll look a little bit different from day to day. Okay, so a typical day. I wake up, I do some yoga stretches in bed, usually a twist, some knee to chest, some shoulder stretches, some neck stretches, and then I meditate first thing in the morning. I do a mindfulness meditation first thing in the morning for about 15 to 20 minutes. Then I write in my gratitude journal. So I have a diary that I write 3 things that I am grateful for today, waking up with a sense of gratitude, and for me that's really important. After that, I get up, I get dressed, I drink 10 ounces of water before I go because I've learned that before I walk, I get really thirsty if I don't drink water. So then my daughter and I take a walk for about 20 to 25 minutes. Outside, we come back, I drink lemon water, another 16 ounces of lemon water with a little bit of lemon in it, some warm water, room temperature or hotter. If it's cold, I drink it hotter. So it depends on the season as well. And then I often come upstairs and I will do a little bit of yoga of some kind, whatever feels intuitive for me, or some kind of movement. And then breathing, I use pranayama. Pranayama is something I added into my practices probably about 1.5 years ago. Been really soothing and supportive for me to explore pranayama more. And this year I've become even more involved with it and taking longer and more time with it, more exploration of it, and really what I want to work with from day to day. So I've been doing a lot of Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing, and variations of that. So there's an A, B, C, D, and E version of them. So I've been kind of playing with those and exploring breath for myself. And then taking just a few moments after pranayama to just set and be, and I always do my practice staring out the window. So the camera, normally the way it's turned for videos is where I look out the same way for my practice, and it's the sun coming up, it's the flowers and trees outside. So I take a few moments just to kind of settle and ground and sort of just be still for a little while. Then I go down and make breakfast. So that would be a lot of my self-care for the morning. Breakfast, since someone asked about my regular diet, we'll kind of include that in here. Breakfast is oatmeal, or it's smoothies or smoothie bowls that I make. Sometimes it's pancakes. My husband makes pancakes on Wednesdays or waffles on Saturdays. Sometimes it's breakfast tacos. So I eat a vegetarian diet, which means I eat no meat whatsoever. I am not pescatarian, nor do I eat chicken or any other meat product. I limit my dairy products dramatically. I don't have much to do with dairy because it doesn't work well with my system terribly well. So I find that I eat less of it because it's better for me. So my diet has changed over the years. I was vegetarian growing up until 17. Then I decided I was going to try meat. I ate meat until I was 39. And at age 40, I decided to return back to being vegetarian. My daughter said to me, "Mom, you hardly ever eat any meat anyway, so why don't you just go back to being vegetarian? Maybe you'd be happier." And since she's vegetarian, I felt supported, and so I went back to being a vegetarian full time. So that's been my diet, and I've changed it as to what I eat. I eat very seasonally. I would never have smoothies or smoothie bowls in the winter. I would eat more oatmeal and things like that. In the summer, I tend to eat things that are cooler because I want to cool myself down and I want to maintain a certain temperature. So I try to eat seasonal fruits and vegetables. I eat seasonal foods. I try to eat a lot of cooked food because my body does not handle raw food. I am Vata dominant. I'm a Vata Pitta. And so my digestion is very unstable most of the time. So I have to stay away from things that are too cold. Things that are raw do not work. So I do not eat salads at all because raw is not my friend. And for most Vatas, it probably isn't their friend. So raw food is probably off the table. I really love warm cooked foods. So for me, like this week, I made a green vegetable curry with potatoes yesterday and rice underneath, and then probably make a vegetarian paella later this week with a lot of vegetables and rice. I do sometimes like vegetarian chili. I will make, we made stuffed bell peppers this weekend, so I stuff them with orzo and sun-dried tomatoes and veggie sausage and herbs, and those are baked in the oven, so that's something we eat throughout the week. So a lot of my diet is that. So we make pretty much everything in the house. We don't eat a lot of processed food at all. We make everything from scratch, and we try to eat what is in season at the time. So right now we would be finishing up our cycle of strawberries and blueberries and things like that because the season is becoming to an end, right? And the rest of my typical day. So we head toward the afternoon. Of course, I eat my lunch, and then I have the afternoon. I work in the morning, usually between breakfast and lunch for a few hours, working on different stuff, and then eat lunch. And then in the afternoon, I do a little bit more work, and I often spend some time, about an hour and a half to 2 hours, studying, reading up on new topics, new ideas, new subjects, yoga books, yoga philosophy, yoga history, a lot of different interests for me other than just yoga. Science as well, and myofascial release and muscles and history, religion, a little bit of everything. I think that education every day is really important. So probably at least an hour a day is education. Afternoon, about 3:30, my kids and I jump on the mat. We do bar for about 15 minutes. Sometimes we do about 5 minutes of HIIT, and then we do a 20-minute yoga practice together all at once. After that, we get ready for the evening, maybe eating a dinner. I eat dinner a little bit early because I teach at night to a private group twice a week. So we eat dinner and then I prepare for the private group. So then I teach a couple of nights a week for 2 75-minute classes, and then reading, watching TV, hanging out with family, whatever that is. So before I go to bed, I have a very bedtime routine, just like my morning time routine. I do sort of my tucking myself in, and I'll read or massage my feet with oils or my hands and settle in, and then I listen to a meditation usually at night before I go to sleep as well. So that meditation is usually a yoga nidra or something like that. So a guided yoga nidra would be nighttime for me to go to sleep, and then I would go to sleep. So I normally wake up about 6:30, or PJ wakes me up at 6:30 because he stands on my chest and meows at me and taps my face with his paw. And I go to bed about 9:30 to 10. I'm pretty consistent with those. I need a lot of sleep. I've realized that throughout my life, that sleep is really important, and it's really helpful for me to focus and be a better person altogether. So sleep is super important to me. So I have sleep time is set aside as very special. So that's kind of my current diet and my standard day and kind of self-care. I did forget that in the morning, right after breakfast, my daughter and I do tea time outside on the patio, and we kind of just hang out and talk and journal and pull oracle cards and tarot cards and just kind of cover the topics of the day or whatever comes up. So that's sort of another self-care time as well. So I bake them in throughout the day. They're kind of included throughout the day, what we do. Another question. How did I get started with my channel? Did I set out to be a YouTube hit? I love this question because I still don't even think I'm a YouTube hit. I'm just on YouTube. That's kind of what it is. I got started with my channel because I had local clients, because I had a studio here and I was working at several places teaching yoga, and I had clients that traveled a lot and they asked me for practices to go. So I started the YouTube channel with just private links so that people could log in just privately, and they were private videos. And then I realized that was a lot of trouble, so I just let them be public videos, and they did pretty well. People liked them and I got a lot of comments back. And so I started thinking that I would put more up there for my own clients. So it started really with my own clientele needing more videos and more practices for when they traveled or when they weren't around or when they couldn't come to class or something had happened. We had some ice storms, some snowstorms where classes were canceled for a couple of weeks so they could practice at home on their own. So it became sort of like that. And my idea was, I really felt it was really wonderful to offer that, because when I started yoga, there was no YouTube and there were no classes online. And there was just, you went to a class or you didn't. And with 2 small children, that was not a possibility. So I wanted to begin thinking about how it would be really great to offer that to people who, like me, when I started yoga, did not have access to yoga via an online vehicle, who didn't have the same time frame. So a lot of people were practicing from 5 to 7. I had 2 young children. That's bedtime. That's dinner and bedtime for 2 young children. So that was not a possibility. And I could practice whenever they went to bed or whenever I wanted to. And I thought that was really important to offer to other people that same option. So to me, that was a great idea. It was really a really great idea that made sense to me. So that's how I kind of continued on YouTube. I've always loved yoga. I remember watching Lilias Folan when I was very young and just thinking, I would just watch her. I wouldn't even practice with her. I would just watch her and thought, that is the most beautiful thing ever. She looks so happy and so calm and so centered. And something about it really called to me. So I sort of played around with yoga on and off throughout my life, just sort of dabbling in it here and there, taking it at a gym that I was at, or a book I'd read, or some cards I had. And I found a local studio where I was at that was just opening, and I tried a restorative class there, and I fell in love with the studio. I fell in love with the community. I fell in love with restorative. And that really built my passion up for the practice overall. And I began to practice a lot more often, 3 times a week at the studio. I will have to say I couldn't afford the classes, so I used to clean mats and clean the studio and check people in and clean the bathrooms for my classes. So I did what they call Siva service for my classes because I couldn't afford to pay for them. So I understand not being able to afford classes as well. And I just loved it more and more and more. And so I got to the point where I really felt like I wanted to offer that to other people because I loved it. And a lot of my teachers that I was practicing with said to me, you would be a really good teacher. You have a talent, a skill, and a passion for it that would lend itself to being a teacher. But you need to practice more, you need to practice longer, and you need to study. And so I took that to heart. And it took me a few more years of really buckling down, making my practice an everyday thing, committing to it full time, and really reading up a lot more, studying, taking teacher trainings, and anything I get my hands on that would give me some information more about the practice as a whole. And that's how I kind of developed my passion. Oh, she fell over. Okay. Someone asked, what are some ways I personally release anger and stress? A couple of ways. I am passionate about music, so I have playlists on Spotify that are what I call my angry playlists. And I will exercise. I will walk. I will get on the elliptical machine. I will get on the mat, angry and stressed out. I will listen to angry, stressed out music that helps me vent and feel that. It does tend to be very heavy metal grunge, just so you know. I can practice to anything, depending on my mood, so that's not hard for me. And I will just get on the mat and I will let that turn into something else, into direction. Let my body process it, let my mind process it, let myself work through it. Other ways of doing that. I know that we hold a lot of anger and tension and stress in our bodies, so movement of any kind is a great way to vent energy. I hoop. You'll probably see the hoops over here on this side. I hula hoop. I dance. I do yoga. I do bar. I also, if all comes to the end of it, I have two last remaining things to do if I can't get rid of it any other way. I have a boxing bag in my media room on the second floor, and I will just go and turn on music, and I will plug into it, and I will put on my boxing gloves, and I will kickbox and box as long as my body will take to get some of that out in a safe place where it needs to just be gotten out of my body. Another way is a way that my guru meditation teacher taught me. It works really incredibly well. You get a pillow and you take a deep breath and you think of something that's really upsetting and you hold your mouth there so that you don't scare anybody in the house, and you scream into the pillow. Primal screaming, and I know you're going to laugh when you hear this, primal screaming is a really powerful way to let things go. You may find that after you do it a couple of times, a couple of rounds of it, you will cry, you will shake, you need to let that move out of your body. And so primal screaming really works well. I know that. I haven't scared anybody in my house yet, so they must not hear me when I scream into the pillow. So you can take a blanket, a t-shirt, whatever, and just cover your mouth and scream into it. Let it all go. The first time you scream, it's probably kind of mild. The second time you scream, it's a lot more gut-wrenching and you move stuff out of your body. So movement is a great way to somatically release a lot of things. And that leads into the other question about ways to release trauma stored in the body. We know from a psychological perspective, from a therapeutic perspective, that talk therapy is very effective, but it is more effective, probably 10 times more effective, when you include in talk therapy sharing with your situation with somebody else, whether it be a therapist or someone you know that you feel comfortable sharing with. Movement. You've got to move it out of your body. So movement therapy is really powerful, somatically moving your body. That could be yoga, that could be hooping, that could be dancing, that could be any kind of movement helping kind of move it out. I do find that Yin Yoga, because you're very present in your body and you can really sit with those feelings and things that come up, that it is better to be there and just let that stuff move out of your body at its own pace. So I find Yin incredibly powerful for helping work with emotional content, but other people find just yoga of any kind or movement of any kind works. There are not particular poses or practices that would work better than others. Just being consciously present, aware with your breath, using the breath and awareness to sensations and feelings and thoughts that come up without judgment, and allowing those things to happen. If you're in a Yin pose and you just start to cry, you just let it. You let it happen and you let it process and you let it move however it is. And you seek help whenever you need to with a therapist or with a friend or somebody else to help you work with those emotions. But we know that our bodies hold it. And so moving that out and letting it process and getting it moved around can be really powerful. So practices, breath practices, I know that for me, the inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth helps activate the vagus nerve. And that was another question about vagus nerve activation. That is one of the best ways to do it. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. 3 of those, really helpful. Yin and restorative are both vagus nerve activation practices because we focus on breathing and sensation and presence and releasing. So those automatically as practices lend themselves to vagus nerve activation, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. So we have sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight, super important to have, but in our life we tend to have that activated far more than we need it. And parasympathetic nervous would be our rest, digest, and heal part of the nervous system. Simplification of those two. But because we spend so much time in this fight or flight, we often get stuck there and cannot get out of that cycle. And so helping ourselves reconnect to that healing part can be really powerful for ourselves. So using Yin restorative, breath, meditation, yoga nidra, all practices that help activate the vagus nerve and really help us settle into that sort of parasympathetic nervous system are very powerful. The person also asked, would you think of a question or a class for vagus nerve stimulation? I'm going to say that every yin class and restorative class, and I teach a lot of classes, even my flow classes are very mindful, present, breath. So I would say any class in which I'm asking you to be present and breath oriented and aware of your body and your movement are going to be classes that are going to be vagus stimulation, activation. So particularly yin and restorative and breath classes, yoga nidra as well. But I could also work on a class for that too. I'll add that to my magic list. So that was the last of the questions I had. I'm going to check one more time just to make sure I have everybody's questions on here. Yes, Lucy settled down for the quiet time, paying attention. She knows she's going to get more treats. Thank you so much for listening to all of this, all these questions that you submitted and asked about, and for kind of sitting here and listening to all of this spread out, whether it had meaning to you personally or it was your question or not. I really appreciate your taking the time. I do like tea time chats because I like to hear what you want to know about and respond in whatever way I can, as best I can. As I mentioned before, the Yin Yoga teacher trainings are at theyogaranger.com. I also offer live classes. I have a lot of people asking the question about live classes. I do offer live classes once a month. They are rotating through Yin, restorative, and flow. Those are the new moon classes. Those are again at theyogaranger.com. You'll see new moon classes, and those would be monthly live classes. Those are 60 to 75 minutes in length. They are live via Zoom, and you get a recording. If you register for those, you get the recording afterwards, so you have unlimited access to it to replay as well. I have been offering this year and will continue to offer next year a cacao ceremony following the wheel of the year. So this is an 8-fold cycle of the solar cycle system. So we look at each one of these like about every 6 weeks or so. We have a cacao ceremony, and which is about 75 minutes or so, where we meditate and breathe and dance and journal and connect and share and circle in to support each other in whatever way we can. And those are also at theyogaranger.com. Look under cacao ceremonies. Would love to have you join us for those. One last thing here before I go. I am really proud of the Yoga Ranger member site. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's a 7-day free trial. For 7 days, you can look around and see what you think. If you have questions, always feel free to reach out to me at theyogaranger@outlook.com. It is 50% off the first month as well. So you have that 7-day free and then 50% off the first month. That would include all the live new moon, the cacao ceremonies, a full moon meditation that we do for the Facebook page. Those are all included in the membership, as well as new classes every week. All of the YouTube classes without ads are included there as well. So you would get 2 classes a week plus exclusive content and extras. And next year, I am so excited to be offering some new stuff. I'll be doing immersion at the end of this year. In December, I'll be offering a mixed live and recorded immersion where we will dive a little bit deeper into the concept of the winter solstice and sanctuary, building our own sanctuary. So we'll have live meditations in that, along with cacao ceremony, full moon meditations, as well as a layout for some other things you can do at home on your own for a weekend at-home immersion, at-home retreat. So I'll be doing retreats every single year from now on. I have one from last year as well. So we have those building up an offering. I do have calendars every single month. They are themed calendars each month. They have a playlist, and they also have journal prompts to go with a theme with that. So you can explore more deeply the concepts, join us anytime or jump in there. And that is also included in the membership as well. So there's a lot of stuff in there that are really supportive. I am very interactive with the membership and the members, and they are very supportive of each other. Whenever something happens to someone, they lose someone, they're sick, they get a diagnosis, something tragic happens, the group is there to really support and be there. A lot of them are friends outside of that now too. They've gotten to chat and talk on the phone or via Zoom or other calls to each other separately because they've gotten to know each other via the group. So it's a community. It's a huge community for me. So it's really important to build community as well. I hope to see all of you soon, either live or via YouTube or the Wire Member site. The Wire Member site is yogaranger.vhx.tv. The yogaranger.vhx.tv is the member site as well. If you have a financial issue in which it is just out of your reach, please reach out to me. I can make things accessible for you. I want to make this accessible to everybody because I know what it's like to want member community and not be able to possibly afford it. So please reach out to me if you have any issues, and I am happy to work with you in some way. theyogaranger@outlook.com. Send me an email. I look forward to chatting with you. Wishing you all the best, and I will see you very soon on the mat.